do it for you.
Baby, don't forget the floor is yours. Yeah, baby, I mean the floor is yours. If it come down to the floor is yours, let me show you how I prove the floor is yours. 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 The floor is yours.
What's up, people? How y'all doing today? It's your boy Mars. We on Greenwood once again on the Floor is Yours podcast. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your homies. We back again at it. We got your boy Flex, the producer, as always, doing his thing. And then we got Miss Virgo here. I think it's the third time we done had her on Greenwood. Thank you for coming in again because we love your perspective.
Anytime.
About to bring y'all a good one. Like I said, go ahead, like, share, and subscribe. And we're going to talk about a couple of things today. Something that not many people are very familiar with is called the caste system. Then we're going to talk about the Colorado Black farmers. And then we're going to highlight one of the that's called the Conversation Summit. And it's going to be hosted by Moshe. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. Your boy Flex is definitely going to get into that with his colors and bright, beautiful, shining
represent
over there
for the motherland.
I got to get me one. Me one.
Yeah.
But Miss Virgo, would you like to highlight yourself real quick? Tell the people what you do, and kind of we'll get right into the cast system after that. But kind of introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Asha the Virgo, and I have a perspective about everything. I think that's why they keep calling me. So I like to have duality of thought, right? And I like to see things from multiple perspectives. That's why I spend time listening to Fox News.
Yeah.
There's always something you gotta.
They say keep your enemy close. They say keep your enemy close.
Yeah, no other side.
I like to think that perspective because sometimes I'm like, nah, I don't want to watch, but you're right. You gotta keep your enemy close. And exactly.
Sometimes it's hard. It's
that's
very
why
hard
because it's that kind of perspective. All right. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Let's talk about this caste system. So for some people, those of us that don't understand exactly what the caste system is itself, is it's basically the division of society based on, this is the definition of what we looked up, the division of society based on differences of wealth, inherited rank or privilege, profession, occupation, or race. So any of those things, and then they basically put people in categorizations. And so we basically have a lot of people in politics talking about this. It's getting a lot of more rumble again. While things are starting to shift and politics are about to shift. This is about almost 2 years in now with Joe Biden in here. So we're definitely going to have to start doing our races, right? And it gets really loud around this time about what people are actually interested in. And they're saying that they're going to fix or whatever may have you. So this is definitely something that needs to be paid attention, especially if we're going to tell people in the community to run to the polls.
And let me just add a little more context to what the caste system is, in my opinion. My estimation is that, there was a racial reckoning the past few years, especially with George Floyd. Absolutely. So, this country has
not just for Black folks, though. To make that clear, not just for Black.
Oh,
folks.
Absolutely, yeah. And it called people out on a multitude. You had the against the Asian community, against the LGBT community, whatever. So I think when you get the history of this country and not what it stands for, but just the history, the discrimination, the openly and blatant racism, it's there. And so now you got it because of the reckoning that happened with George Floyd and some of the other incidents. I think they had to get a little more creative with how to discriminate. And think about the caste system. It doesn't necessarily target race specifically, but what it can do when you understand the inequities and how certain industries, as far as employment, parts of the country that you live in, they can use those as ways to discriminate. And when you know that Black people are traditionally left out of some of those systems or whatever, then just inherently it becomes a way to discriminate, you know, without necessarily calling it racism.
Traditionally, yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about, is the tradition of America. And we know what tradition in America is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Ms.
Just
Virgo,
want
did
to
you
add
have,
that there.
yeah, did you have anything to add specifically on the caste system? Because we have, you know, Isabel Wilkerson has been speaking on different platforms about, I heard she had a book out, and her perspective on the system itself, and everybody's thoughts on that. Getting, as we get and talk about this, and it's becoming more and more
Yeah.
relevant that this is something that they are paying attention to. We got people writing books about it and being on shows about it. So can you kind of shed some light on Isabella Wilkerson and kind of what she did in her book?
So I think the big thing for me the big thing for me that I took out, that I liked, was that she said basically the caste system was something that you can't act your way out of, right? You can't
Yeah.
code switch your way out of it. You can't have perfect diction to get out of it. It's something that is more deeply ingrained, and not expressly racial, but racial, right?
Yeah.
And so I really appreciated how she said you can't code switch your way out of it, which
Yeah.
really solidifies how ingrained in the infrastructure it is.
Yeah.
And how pervasive it is, at least for me. I really appreciated that.
Absolutely. And you talk about the word you use, pervasive. I start thinking about how systemic racism is, and this is how covert it is, because you'll see things like what happened in Memphis where Black officers beat Tyree Nichols to death. So you like, how can that be discrimination? Well, it allows a system like the police, who's supposed to protect and serve. It'll get,
Holier than thou.
yeah,
They're
and
in a higher class.
it gives them the okay and the cover, and not just the okay, but it really promotes a type of police that's brutal. And here's the thing that I believe: there is no way they would have beat that guy to death like that if in their mind that wasn't some type of cover that would give them, you know, an out. So policing or the over policing in our communities is a way where you can actually see the caste system at work.
No matter what race you are.
Yeah.
I have like 3 thoughts about that, and hopefully I don't lose my train of thought halfway through, because I do that. But first, I believe that even though those were Black officers assaulting a Black person, had those been Black officers, they would not have assaulted a white person because of the caste system, right?
Right.
Because there is no value on the Black body as opposed to value to the white body. They knew there would be repercussions had they taken upon that on a white person, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to abuse, to degrade, to murder the Black body because it doesn't hold value.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't even hold value to them because they don't even see their own value, I'm sure. So I won't even go on that part. But the second part about policing, and this really bugs me, and I think it's something that, I don't know, I came up with on a flight one night, and it just popped in my head, and I was like, you know what? When I was growing up, when I was a young child, the image of a cop was like, helps an old lady across the street or helps you get your cat out of a tree or something. You know what I mean? That archetype of them being like the friendly community helper. But then I thought about what imagery did I see of police growing up? And you think about like Die Hard with a Vengeance, Bad Boys, you know, and in all of these shows and movies, it's always the lone cop who's out there on a mission. They can do whatever they want to do. Sergeant be damned. I can shoot who I want, do what I want, as long as I get the bad guy, you know, even if I'm told not to do it. And I think about that, and you think about how many boys grew up in the 80s and 90s only seeing that imagery and graduating high school probably as a loser, right? Probably a little beaten up or maybe low on the high school caste system. And now they've got some power, right? They've seen all these images about what cops can do and be. right? And then even if you add sports, right, then you add aggression they learned in football or soccer or baseball, and you
Exactly.
end up with this little beast of a person, you know what I mean, that now has a badge that we've commissioned to carry a weapon.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's absurd to me.
You know
It's
what
absolutely
you
absurd to
just
me.
made
But
me think about, not to cut you off, because that is actually deep thinking. I say that all the time, especially when you have positions of power. There's a lot of people in positions of power that didn't have such a good high school experience. So now they're giving it back, shall I say. I definitely understand that. And that happens all the time, especially in the caste system, because you can hide behind your system when you're in an occupation or have found an occupation, and the person that was, doing better than you, looking better than you, getting all the girls or something like that. Now you're there. Um, and I really think that the value of each person understanding that comes down to our environment, right? And most of us haven't had the same environment. And that is the biggest thing to remember when you're talking about the systems. And it's kind of, if you've ever seen, some people will understand this. Some people have watched. It's where they did what is the Mockingbird, all of that. What is it called? But they actually had a system. It was a movie. What was it called? You know what I'm talking
with
about?
Jennifer Lawrence,
Yeah, the Aberdeen, Katniss
something with
Everdeen.
the bird,
I forget what it's called. But the funny part is in the
Hunger
movie.
Games.
Hunger Games. They
Yeah.
actually had, in the movie, they had everybody had to be in a certain section based off their caste system. And it's like that really happens. And you're looking
Yeah.
at this stuff happen in real life, and you're like, you really have to get back and pay attention to what's going on.
Yeah.
And they're telling you right now, and you have people like Isabel Walkerson that's telling the community, but people don't want to listen because we'd
Yeah.
rather be comfortable in what is now
Yeah.
post pandemic, where everybody's comfortable and in the house and
Yeah.
don't want to talk about anything.
Yeah, and it's a good point. And another way that we see it too is just the outright where they're trying to suppress the DEI initiatives, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I remember a few years ago when Trump was in office, and he actually passed an executive order where he limited or outright, banned any DEI initiatives and training. So those are things around equal opportunity training, discrimination, outlaws, and all that. Like, he took it out and made it where as a federal agency you couldn't include that in your training. Now fast forward to your boy DeSantis. Man, he is on a tear down in Florida. You talking about even which is crazy, because
Yeah,
traditionally the
can you
right has
explain some
been
of the stuff that
against.
he's doing, G?
Yeah. So traditionally, the right has been against, government overreach. They're letting these private entities to, really dictate what they do and how they train and all that. Well, he's making it illegal to, well, not illegal, but yeah, if you're a school, state agency, university or school age, you can't teach these initiatives. So they're pulling the curriculums out of the college that teaches, certain DEI initiatives, but they're all putting them under that banner of critical race theory, and they're all trying to conflate and make it like, hey, everything's about CRT when it's not. But the thing is, when we don't show up at the polls, now they get their people in office that can make these laws and that can pass these rules. And if you understand how government works at the state level, they set their rules now, barring something that happens at the federal level where Congress says like, hey, we got to do something on this. But even then, their reach is limited because state does have their own executive branch, if you will. So, you just see it like real time, man, where they are openly discriminating and teaching or not allowing the history
You
or
said down
even the
in
betterment.
Florida, there DeSantis is doing that down in Florida, and he's
Yeah.
taking that out of school, right?
Yeah, he's taking it
some
out of
people,
school.
for you guys that don't know what critical race theory, that's what they're trying to take Black history out of the schools, and that's crazy. Don't they have to have certain studies? There's HBCUs down there too, right?
Yeah. So,
So
but
There's
yeah, but
state
for you to
schools.
get funding, and again, as an executive, he can dictate for that state what's allowed and what's not allowed. And even, you know, you understand school got boards and they all talk about this, but if their people, their representation is by the people who's pro or who's for this, what can the average citizen do? You know, I mean, it's happening at the decision-making level.
DeSantis is using the power of the purse.
Yeah.
Right. To mold his agenda. Even things that he doesn't outlaw or legislate against, the conversation was started. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And people think that something has occurred even when it hasn't and or has.
Yeah. And remember, it didn't just start with
him. We all know Florida is that, you know, we've known this, but well before Trayvon Martin, but we've known this, and we were hurt and reminded by Trayvon Martin, and then the young men at the gas station, and over and over again, and here we go again. Always gonna be red, and nobody cares over there, and it's just disheartening. It's like, do we have anybody down there? There's a bunch of Latinos down there. I do know that.
Yeah, but they vote heavily for the right. You know, so that's just traditional.
That's the people that pay them.
Yeah, but not only that, again, what I said earlier, when it comes to the midterms, and we talked about this a number of times, that's when the laws are made,
which have been passed, passed, and people have, you know, not,
because we're not at the polls. We don't have.
And now are we looking at what the biggest thing, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because what we hold accountable. Have we been paying attention to the people we've elected or that got elected since midterms? Because we need to, because they've been there long enough. So I think this is about the time where everybody go cry. No, we want to see what's going on. What you signed since? So let's hold these people accountable, and let's pay attention, community, too. So,
but you know what? It is so toxic right now in Congress that they still have George Santos sitting there, a proven liar. If you don't know who George Santos is, he's the weirdo from New York who has lied about every single thing that he's ever done or said. And they won't censure him or throw him out of Congress because they need his vote, right? And the margin is so low. Yeah. And it's just insane.
But he's not even the worst of it, though. You look at Marjorie Taylor Greene and, you know, some of the other.
I'm saying, I mean, just silly, dizzy. She's
not even about legislating anymore or actually trying to run the country. And it's how toxic and how offensive can you be? And dare you to say anything? You know, so just the whole decorum and the traditions of the floor and how they conduct business, man, it's nothing like what it used to be.
South ain't they've been the South. They've been the South this whole time.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Flex? With it's completely off topic, but it just hit my mind. Do you mind?
Please do.
Okay, looking at how dysfunctional the government has taken itself, looking at your own personal sacrifices as a military person, like, do you feel like it's all for naught? Like, do you feel like you've been sold a bill of goods, or you wasted all these years? Like, how do you feel personally?
I don't think that. You know, I always remember, you know, we're a grassroots organization, the podcast, Moshe. So we're boots on the ground, and we see even at the local level where we are, the work that we're doing and the good of it. You know, even if it's just, you know, telling our families and closest friends, you know, it's there. And I do believe that eventually good will prevail. You know, it's just one of those things where we take our eye off what's important sometimes. And it takes a reckoning. You know, we talked about the racial reckoning. I believe just what true equality is, it'll rear its head again. And I think in the long run, it might not be our generation, but, you know, it'll take a couple cycles to run through. But I think we'll be back to where we were. The thing is, and Martin used to say this all the time, Martin Luther King, is not our enemies, the silence of our friends. And I believe as we begin to be more vocal, you know, I know we got this mindset that, you know, it's my life and leave me alone. I'm just going to worry about me and everybody else worry about them. It's an unrealistic way of living. You know, everything I do can affect somebody. And even the things I don't do can affect somebody. So me sitting back being quiet and just allowing it to happen, it's not an option. Now, what I'm going to do and what you do is all different. I think we all got our parts, whether it's marching in the streets, you know, it's voting, it's raising awareness like we're doing right now. And it's holding our elected officials to task and our neighbors. You know, that's the other part that we need to get back to doing. So I think we lost sight of what's important. And it was the same time that the country was upset about Obama being elected as president. Trump was kind of the response to that. And I think it'll run its course, man. You know, if you think about the last few elections, the left won the popular vote. If it wasn't for electoral college, you know, things would be different. But again,
We just had 2 years with a majority, and we still haven't fixed that problem.
So I think it'll happen. And you know, again, you just got to do what we're supposed to do, you know, as a community. And you know, I think it'll right itself.
That was a tough question. So, well, as we talk about that, well, that segues into our next thing, which is the Black farmers. So, how that segues is what our country is ran by our military, and it's also ran by our agriculture, right?
Yeah.
So, our agriculture is basically how we get our food and where we get our food from. Over in Colorado, I don't know the actual statistics, but Colorado is one of our biggest things, right? Our biggest farmlands is I don't know the specific crops, but there's so much that comes from our inland.
The heartland,
like Colorado. And so you also have a bunch of Black farmers as well in there. And with these Black farmers, you have a group of Black farmers that have been basically terrorized. They claim that they've been terrorized by multiple people, and they've made over, let's see, don't want to misspeak. They made over about 200 calls to the police, and the police don't come and help them at all. Their livestock's being murdered and being poisoned. And while they're being poisoned, nobody's coming to help them. It's not just every day. I mean, it's not just all like just once in a time. It's like almost every day now. They've lost a lot of livestock, and they've also been getting phone calls, vandalism, all this kind of stuff, right? So all of this is happening to not just them, but multiple farmers, and they're starting to speak up. So how do we kind of feel about this stuff going on, and are we paying attention? Because a lot of us aren't really noticing that this stuff is happening. Yeah. And then we also mentioned Bill Gates is over there buying up a lot of farmland as well. So why is this also happening at the same time?
Yeah, you know, I think it's not a new issue. Again, it's just starting to show his head more. You know, I remember growing up when I started hearing about the black cowboy rodeos and all the cowboy of color. I was like, wow, man, where is that coming from?
Soldiers?
No, they was just past 20 years.
The cowboys that was around you.
There's actually Black people showing up doing rodeos and
you know, my brother's dad is a cowboy in the rodeo.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So just Black people in that space, you just don't see it often. So when you talk about these farmers that their ranches are, you know, being attacked, or the cattle are being poisoned and the crops are being, you know, destroyed, it's we understand that we are the minority there too. And like all things, the representation overwhelmingly in law enforcement is not us. So when you got a system that's built that way, what we're talking about, the caste system, I can see how they protect their interests, their stronghold in that area, if you will. So again, it's not surprising to me.
Absolutely. That's our agriculture, and our farmers is a big part of our caste system. And they don't even make that much, to be honest. They have to be sponsored by a certain kind of company to be sponsored by it. Besides that, they're doing just contracts. And some of the things that these Black farmers are experiencing as well is losing their contracts. Yeah. And so this is a lot of things that people not paying attention to. And you lose your contracts based on your caste system placement. Right? And so, like you said, where's our representation in the farmers? Because I think somebody mentioned, as we were talking about it earlier, was that there's nobody teaching.
Yeah. So I got my aunt is dating a guy who's he's the liaison between Prairie View A&M and USDA. And he talked about how there's literally tens of millions of grant money that goes unspent, you know, untouched, because we just don't have the representation. And part of that is what you're talking about, where when people get into it and, you know, their crops are destroyed, the cattle or poisoned. So when it's already a tough industry to get in anyway, why would you jump in there, right? So you end up, you know, and then there's some self-responsibility too. You know, we talked about all the time how we gravitate to sports. Nothing against sports, but that's where the majority of us spend our time. I remember when I was a little young lad, man. My folks had gardens, man. I would go to the country with my aunt and uncle, and even my mom. We had a small garden in our backyard. Like, who knows really how to plant crops and take care of them, and just all the kind of stuff that we don't do anymore.
Let me ask this question too. So if we don't have any representation in this area, and this is where our food is coming from, how do we know what we're eating is for us?
You gotta trust it.
It's not by us. It ain't FUBU.
It's not by us. It's not for us. It's not made with us in mind. It's not cropped with us in mind.
Yeah.
And
but
so
that's
that
that self accountability, self responsibility, because there are a lot of whole food places popping up that do organic foods and stuff like that. But man, I'm guilty, man. Every time I get off the show,
black owned. We talk about clothes. We talk about hair.
Yeah.
We talking about, you know what I mean? We talking about these kind of business, skincare, all this other kind of.
But even when it comes to eating, man, I go to Cane's and get me a
I know.
Why?
It's quick, convenient.
Exactly.
And it tastes like deep fried water. There's no
Cane's definitely went downhill.
Chicken.
Yeah. Cane's
That's
definitely
horrible.
went downhill.
But regardless of the taste, though, it's just like
quick and easy, convenience, like you did say. Yeah. But I've been starting to really be cognizant and take my time and kind of factor in and hold myself accountable, factor in some positivity in what I'm eating.
And when you show that to your kids, that become how they move and how they operate.
They want to beat me up. They want to beat me up. My little one wants to beat me up. But
like,
what
hold
about
up, you ain't eat no McDonald's?
No, we've never. She's never. I've never taken her to McDonald's. I haven't eaten McDonald's since way before she was alive. Yeah. But no, her grandparents have taken her, and but we working on that.
but not only it's the advertising, right? When you look at TV and
she knows it. Even before I didn't even take her, she was like, "Why don't you take me to McDonald's?" I was like, "Because it's not good for you." And so that's the one thing you got to teach people, because kids, they're kids, but some people don't even know that just because they advertise it and say, "Hey, you're gonna have a good time," doesn't mean it's good for you. Yeah. And that's what we got to know as a culture, especially as a culture. Yeah. Everything we advertise is fun and partying for us. That's what they do on them commercials where they have all them symptoms.
So there was this article I read a few weeks ago on CNN, and it talked about ultra processed foods. Mm. So most everything is processed, but some things over and beyond. Yep. Yeah, like McDonald's. And what it does is they link a decline in people's brain health as they get older. That's linked directly to ultra processed
on purpose, so that you continue to eat the processed food. You're gonna get dumber and dumber, and then you'll be like, "Dang, I'm not supposed to eat this," but you keep eating it, and then you're gonna forget. Dang, hey, I'm not supposed to be eating this. You forget.
It's just a convenience, man. Our society, we want everything expedient.
We need more black farmers. We need these people protected, is really what we're trying to say, because we're eating all this other stuff that you said, the ultra, and I want people to understand what that is that they found a way. It's a loophole between the FDA. What they did was FDA has you can only have 2% of this fake chicken in it, right? But if it's ultra processed, it's higher than 2% of the same thing. And so that's what they're doing. And so
and basically it's just, how do you think about how long
and FDA has gotten the cut, number one, do this.
But it's expedient, it's a global economy. A lot of the food that we eat is shipped in from other countries even. So think about it. What do they got to do to food to make it last that long?
Yeah, we had a chicken shortage, and then more chicken nuggets popped up.
You call it chicken nuggets if you want.
Exactly. So and then another thing, because like I said, we have to protect these farmers that are already here, because they know how to do it and they need to teach us, and so it can go down. And not only that, they're already saying that, I believe he got the most recent thing I said, they just recently arrested this farmer in Colorado because they said all his claims were false. But who do you think arrested him? The same police that he's calling it on. Yeah. So this is the kind of stuff that we have to protect these people. We have to educate ourselves about the food we want to eat and the food that we want to grow. So that's the biggest thing. But did you guys have anything more on the our black farmers and what we need to be doing in our community about it?
Yeah.
I think it's still it's a relic of the past, right? Like
Yeah.
all the way from freely picking cotton to then sharecropping to now I have my own farm and you need to respect my space, right? It didn't just it didn't just go like that.
We're talking all the way back down to the Native Americans too.
Right, exactly. So I think we're still working through our historical milestones, right, out of this. As you said, Flex, we have to go generationally, and a little bit will go past, and a little bit will go past.
We need more Black farmers.
I think we're in a situation now where what are they? The farming industry as a whole is suffering, right? Yeah. So of course, Black farmers are going to suffer most because in all things in our system, the Black farmer, the Black person, the Black cleaner, the Black doctor, we all fare worse whenever that industry is negatively impacted. So this is just people acting out because they can afford to pay their mortgage and maybe they cannot. You know what I mean?
If you think about when they give incentives to come in cities or certain parts of the state, these tax incentives, and they even credits to help build these organizations. It's a lot to build new businesses, so what you get a lot of Black businesses, they go into the urban area, sometimes the economically depressed areas, and have to open up there. But when you talk about
have to go through the loan process, which deeply is still racist, because you can tell how the people get who gets loans and who don't.
The caste system.
Yeah. Exactly. It all is going to come back down to the system. And last thought on this is that our farmers, man, they as Kevin said, we need more Black farmers, and when we have these Black farmers, we have to protect them, no matter what. We have to protect them, because if we don't protect them, we're gonna continue to eat the same stuff. Yeah, we're gonna continue to eat worse stuff, because we know who's getting the contracts. It's the people that's driving our Black farmers away through these racist,
and it creates food deserts, in our communities. So again, we do what we talked about earlier. We go where it's expedient and quick and relatively inexpensive to eat, because it costs. I remember we went to this Snappy Salad, man. They make some good salad, but boy, you're gonna spend $14-15 in there, man.
Just some lettuce.
Some lettuce,
Yeah, and you can go to actually, that's another thing. And I'm telling you this because of education. We want to promote education in our communities. There is always I know there's a lot of smaller towns, but there's smaller towns you already know your farmers, right? So there's almost always, especially if you live in cities and there's local farmers markets. There's always going to be a local farmers market. And it's cheaper. I'm telling you, those farmers are out there now looking for people to give them money to.
Now they're competing with the Walmarts and the Kroger who mass produce. So you will go and spend.
It's gonna go back to times where you seen the old songs like Aladdin, where I'm stealing the bread, going down the farmers market. Heck nah, y'all.
Yeah, man, them farmers market, and not against. It's nothing against the farmers, but that's how they pay their bill.
Yeah, but
it's
still gonna be a little cheaper. It's still gonna be a little cheaper.
Not really, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I used to be at the farmers market. I had a small business, and I sold at the farmers market. And what it costs to purchase the food, you know what I'm saying, and then even rent your space at the farmers market. You know what I'm saying? It usually costs more because you're really paying for the privilege of buying local, because you can buy cheap national at Walmart, but at the farmers market, that's direct hand to mouth. And these people, you were tasting the gas it took them to drive there. You were tasting the gas and their tractor.
Know your worth.
Tasting their mortgage note of their, you know what I'm saying, of the shed. Like they have to pass all that cost on, and it's not easy. Because I used to have a company called Goofy Girl Gumbo Company, and I sold gumbo, and I had to sell a quart of gumbo for $17. Now people think a can of soup for $17.
Hey, that's not just some soup. That's gumbo. That's a little different.
I know, but I'm just telling you what some of my friends would say about what was going on, right?
Fresh also. Exactly.
It is
It's
fresh.
fresh.
Yeah,
So
that's
so I
true.
understand that too.
But again, I would have to explain to them, I'm making like $2 off of this.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? This is a passion project. That's why I say I formally owned a small business.
Yeah.
It became a passion project, you know?
Yeah. So we got this comment right here from Kevin. He said, we have a farmer's market here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And Forest Park, and is mostly ran by Mexicans and other foreigners, not being racist at all, just saying
No,
we
it's
need more
not.
black farmers in our area.
Yeah, the thing about it is the Hispanics they hold true to their traditions, even though they're still here. They haven't gotten that beaten out of them yet, shall I say? And
Yeah.
I'm proud of them for that, because heck yeah, let them go ahead and get they farmers market in and get you some good food. They got
But
good
is
food
that
out there.
too? But let's be honest, like when it comes to the treatment or the bad treatment of people, man, we're at the bottom of the totem pole, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Hispanics get,
Yeah.
you know, they get a little bit
Blacks,
more
so we
love.
are, man. So,
Hispanics don't even want to be black. I'm gonna go to
no.
that too, because you tell a Dominican or Puerto Rican they black, they be blacker than G over there, and they be like, oh me, yes you.
But you crazy or what?
But that's okay. Because it's all one love. I mean, we not fighting on discrimination, but we all oppressed. We all under the caste system, shall I say? But without further ado, I know Flex, I know you got a commercial for us, so we're gonna roll into that, and y'all stick with us. We got a special thing for you that we need to highlight right after the commercial. All right, people. I'm glad y'all got to see that. That is our first and not the last commercial about the Conversation Summit that we'll be having this summer. And I'm gonna have Flex get started on it because it's whole dear to his heart. You saw his nice and shiny picture up there. So he's gonna be able to explain the summit to you, which is gonna be dope. I'll be missing it, but I will not miss the next one. But it's gonna be dope, and it is hosted by Moshe.
Yeah. And just real quick in the comments, y'all keep the comments coming. We will get to them. We appreciate people in the audience coming. Yeah, but the Conversation Summit, man. So this is something, again, like you said, is near and dear to my heart, but not just mine. I helped build a team of people with the podcast and other community partners, where we want to figure out how can we address the lack of generational wealth in our community in a serious way. You know, we work our butts off 60, 70, 80 hours a week sometimes, but it won't seriously change our situation. Can it put some money in our pocket for the immediate moment? Yes. But when you're talking about how do you build a legacy and pass down those benefits to your kids and your kids' kids, it's going to take more than us just working 80 hours, 90 hours a week. We're going to have to figure out how can we leverage our skills, our passions, and monetize those when the opportunity is there. So we're promoting entrepreneurship. You know, we are one of the most creative people on this planet. Get out, learn how to monetize your passions and your skills to help build generational wealth. So we got a pitch contest at the Conversation Summit where we're promoting, again, entrepreneurship, not just from adults, but kids. Get their kids involved in things like this before their mind is tainted with things that's going on in the world. Pitch your business idea to a panel of judges. And you just saw some of the judges in that commercial. We got city council people, we got mayors, we got other business owners who are going to pour into the people as they pitch their business ideas. And you get to win prizes like creation of an LLC, website design, logo design, business coaching, personal coaching, commercials, all these things that you need to help your business be successful. but you just need to show up to the Conversation Summit, pitch your business idea, take in this good information from people who own businesses, and go back into your community and be great. So that's what the Conversation Summit is about. It's promoting entrepreneurship so we can begin to address the lack of generational wealth in our community and address it in a serious way. March 17th and March 18th, go to the Conversation Summit.com and register.
We're gonna put that in the there it is.
Right there. The
March
ConversationSummit.com
through March 18th. That's the 2-day event, the Conversation Summit. It's gonna be in Texas. And just go to this right here, the ConversationSummit.com, so y'all can get that stuff in there. And I'm glad you said that, because I meant to say that while we were talking about the caste system and Black farmers in general. Is remember Greenwood, when we talk about generational wealth, we talk about Greenwood, not just the podcast itself, but what is Greenwood? It was that city that was built for us, by us. We had banks, we had water system, we had doctors, we had farmers, we had everything. And they came and burnt that down. Why? Because they didn't want to give us generational wealth. And we, once again, we're behind, not just behind, knocked down multiple steps again. Right.
And Greenwood and other cities like Greenwood.
Other cities, way more cities. You know, they burned down cities, they drowned cities. Some cities, or if you go into one of your lakes in your local, you might see a Black city that was built. You know, and so that's the kind of stuff that we had to deal with. And so things like the Conversation Summit is very important to help do that. And we can't, the thing about it is, when we do stuff like that, they will try to burn it down, like these Black farmers, right? When we try to build stuff like this. So we just know that we have to fight. And this is something that is more than just a passion. It's a fight. It's a fight for the right of generational wealth and the right to be educated. Right.
And so it makes you less dependent on outsiders.
Independent, because we can be. That's number one, because our mindsets are there. And so it's hosted by Moshe. I want you to actually explain that too. It's been that this way, this beautiful symbol right here. But yeah, definitely explain Moshe to the people.
Yeah. So a lot of people that follow me and what I've been doing over the past 4 years know I was doing work in the community before COVID. COVID came and it shut us down. So I had to come up with a way for us to stay relevant. So the podcast came about. But again, Moshe, or the idea of Moshe, was already in place before COVID came, and we came with the podcast to stay relevant, to push ideas and to keep us connected and to inspire us and to hold each other accountable until we can get back out in society and begin to do the work that we're supposed to do. So that's what Moshe stands for. And Moshe is the Hebrew name for Moses. And if you're familiar with, Moses, especially in the Hebrew, Judeo and Christianity faith, Moses brought the people of Israel out of bondage, out of captivity in Egypt. And so if you think about it from a symbolic way, trying to help bring us out of bondage, not just from others, but from our own mind, our own traditions and own bad habits that we've learned over the years. And again, the summit is an example of how we can do that by, and I just say that we turned Moshe into an acronym just to be able to identify its purpose. And the M stands for mobilize, which you're going to mobilize our people. The O is to organize them after we mobilize. To organize based off our skill sets. And S is to begin to set those strategies based off whatever the challenge is. And H is simply to help each other. E is execute the mission. So it's that mindset that we go with Moshe on, that we can, in the simplest way, figure out how to mobilize as a community and address our issues. So we're not always looking for a handout.
Yes, sir.
Moshe, we got work to do.
Oh, yeah. We all got work to do. So don't forget, y'all, whoever's tuning in, tell a friend, go ahead, like, share, and subscribe. First of all, Greenwood and Podcast, and the floor is yours. But you got to go to the Conversation Summit so that you can understand this stuff. Go to ConversationSummit.com. They'll have more information there on both the event and Moshe, the nonprofit that's going to be hosting this. And it's going to be on March 17th and 18th. All right, don't forget. So let's get back to these comments real quick before we get out of here.
Yeah, we got a couple more. I don't know who the shoes is, but so people are not growing that they buy it somewhere else and sell it. Yeah, they do.
Yep.
Sometimes I will say the Dallas farmers market does not allow you to do that. They will actually come and inspect your farm, and you have to be within 100 miles of the market.
Really? That's dope.
Yeah.
That's
Inspect
dope.
your farm so that they can see. They gotta see.
No, to verify that you have a farm and that
Mhm.
you're growing what you said you're selling.
Wow.
So you're not going somewhere else or buying it from the store and bringing it there and selling it.
People do
Oh,
that.
man.
That's funny that they have to put that together because people will do anything to make $1 and try to get their own generational wealth. Huh?
Yeah.
We can talk about this and that what people are not doing for each other, but we're not going to make any further moves unless we support each other. And that's absolutely correct, Kevin.
Yeah.
We have to support each other. Like I said, you got to support these Black farmers. You got to support your anything. Because we were talking about food, healthy foods. I go support this 757. It's called Culture Vegan. It's vegan food, and they have a plethora of options. And I'm supporting local, and I'm supporting Black, and eating healthy. So things like that, I guarantee you can find around.
Yeah.
But it's not always just for the person. It's for you to make it worth
And
your while.
the thing is, we got to adopt the mindset and understand that when we shop from my community, that sometimes the prices are going to be higher.
Yeah.
The service
pay what it is.
Yeah, man. Because they don't have the income to pay the overhead for multiple people. So
right now, once you get that support, there you go.
Yeah, but it's strategic and it's intentional, and it has to be for the long haul. It's not just I'm gonna do this once every 6 months or something. You got to be intentional, and we get these social media platforms where people are complaining, and rightfully so, about service or prices. I get it, but that's why I said it has to be a mindset where you're sacrificing.
Do that about Starbucks too. You're gonna get upset they mess up your name or drink too. So I mean, you're gonna get them your money tomorrow. So I mean, I feel that
mindset again. You got to change it, man. But that's the only way it's going to happen.
Any parting thoughts from you, Miss Virgo?
I did, but I just forgot what it was.
I know you got some parting thoughts on any of the stuff we were talking about tonight.
It was something that Flex was saying, and I was like, "Oh, I want to say something about that," but then I can't be rude because then I'll talk over people.
Man, I wish you had be rude. It's not rude.
Sometimes you got to be rude,
interjecting off conversations, man.
I understand.
Again,
give me a minute. I'll think about it. Come back to me.
Yeah,
not ladies first.
Man, this event, like the Conversation Summit, it is important to what Kevin said to support. It's not cheap, it's not free, but it's necessary. And unless we buy into it as a community and be conscious and deliberate with our moves, I was making a joke earlier about Kane's Chicken, and man, I could tell you, it's real, and it's not that it's hard. We just go with what we're familiar with and what's easy, and especially it just takes us
tired of living in this caste system.
Yeah, and to be prepared. Here's the thing: what I've learned, if we be more strategic and schedule certain parts of our life, like our entire lives will. If you schedule and make time for dinner, and schedule your sleep time, I promise you, your life will change in a way that's positive. And it's because you're starting to get a routine in your life that's healthy, that you can be more certain around, and especially when you're in a family with other people, you're setting these expectations day in and day out in these what's the word I'm looking for, these routines and patterns that are healthy. So just those two simple things, good bedtime and dinner, can make a world of difference in your life.
Okay, so I remember a little bit. I'm just going to plug small Black businesses for a minute. And I know that people, like you were saying, they talk about service, they talk about price. And I don't want to talk about service because we are who we are as a people, right? But when it comes to price, much like the farmer's market, right? Like, I'm not big enough or wide enough to get venture capital, right? So whatever I'm doing, I'm fronting that out of my pocket. And I'm Black enough that I can't get a loan, right? So again, whatever I'm bringing to the table, whatever product or service that I'm offering, it's straight out of sweat equity. And I can only do what I can do, right? And I don't have generational wealth to help me. I don't have daddy with a silver spoon. I don't have a check from Uncle Joe. You know what I'm saying? So when we come correct to the market, Like, you have to respect their prices. Like, you just have to respect the prices because it's such a struggle. And then you have to weigh in, will people pay that? I mean, it's such a fine struggle. And I feel for people. That's why I don't complain about prices at all anymore. Because I lived it, felt it. You know what I'm saying?
Funny part is I did the same thing. I didn't want to buy any Adidas. My little one has a Adidas jumpsuit she got for Christmas, right? She wanted me to get one because I've been wanting a jumpsuit, right? But I was like, yo, all this stuff came out, all this craziness, whatever my beliefs are, I don't like what's going on. I'm not gonna buy no Adidas jumpsuit, right? And I don't like spending a lot of money on clothes, right? But this local artist that I actually like to support because he does good stuff in the community as well as does music and stuff that I can come and relax to. He has a clothing line as well, and it was like $90 for like a whole piece, right? And I was, dang, all right, let me just go ahead and do that. You know what I'm saying? And because first of all, I wanted that. Now here's an opportunity. I didn't want to buy Adidas. Where else I'm gonna buy a nice little jumpsuit? Boom, it came out of nowhere. So that's just the kind of stuff that we got to be doing. You know, not to say that everybody can go and spend $90 or something like that, but it's just sometimes you got to accept it to support. So,
but that's the intentionality of our behavior that we have to do, man. You know, and I'm talking about me. You know,
everybody should. We holding y'all accountable. We love y'all.
I love a good dealer sale, man.
So, first of all, thank you, Virgo, for coming in again. We're gonna have you again, obviously. And Flex, as always, you know you're doing your thing. And look, this Conversation Summit, please, conversationsummit.com. Go ahead and see that stuff. Hosted by Moshe. Flex, the producer, gonna be there. He gonna be doing what he gonna do on March 17th and 18th.
And
Ladybug there. We're gonna have Tamika there, who is the CEO and founder of the Mogul TV Global, which we are global on right now. Hey, look, it's gonna be hot. So y'all make sure y'all check that out. Thank y'all for tuning in as well. And we're gonna see y'all next time on The Floor Is Yours Greenwood Podcast. It's your boy Mom.
Let me do it for you. Baby, the floor is yours. Yeah, baby, I mean the floor is yours. If it come down to the floor is yours.